Collinwood in the year 1840. And evil hangs over the great house, for Gerard Stiles, possessed by the spirit of the warlock Judah Zachary, threatens to destroy the Collins family. Evil pursues Quentin Collins, jailed and awaiting trial for witchcraft. And Daphne Herridge continues to receive strange notes from someone long dead. Now the notes to Daphne threaten her with death. Gerard knows of the notes, but doubts their supernatural origin. On this night, he hides in Daphne's room, confident that before the night is over, he will solve the mystery.
God, it's you! I knew it all along. All along. Samantha, you come over here and sit down. I have a little counting to do.
I don't have to account to you.
Would you prefer explaining your actions to a judge in a court? Now you tell me. Tell me it all.
I won't tell you anything.
The notes. Tell me about the notes.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't you?
What notes?
Supposing the judge would like to hear more about your talk on your testimony in court about the ghost. The ghost that turned out to be you.
That's a lie.
Is it? Daphne received a note tonight saying that someone would try to murder her. And here I find you over her bed with a knife.
What were you doing here tonight?
When she showed me the note, someone tried to kill me last night. I started to think who it could have been that wanted to dispose of both Daphne and me. And the only name I could think of was yours. You tried killing me last night, didn't you?
No, I didn't. Not that I wouldn't love to see you dead.
I don't deny that. But you don't deny that you would have sent those messages to Daphne and that you wanted to kill her had she been here.
I had no intention of killing her.
Then what were you doing standing by her bed with a knife?
I will tell you nothing.
Oh, yes, you will, my dear. Before this night is out, you will. Why did you write the notes? What had you gained by them? Come on, Samantha, start talking or else the police will start asking the questions.
On what charges?
Attempted murder.
All right. I didn't want to kill her. I just wanted to frighten her. I wanted her to leave this house desperately, just the way I want you to leave it.
And Nan? You plan to get rid of her and start working on me. Yes. You answered a few questions. You will be very useful to me, Samantha. Very useful indeed.
I don't know what you have in mind, Gerard, but if you think I'm going to help you, you're insane.
Why don't you just stop and think for a while?
Don't touch me.
Does my touch really disturb you?
I can't bear to be in the same room with you.
That will change.
I'd rather die than lift a finger to help you with anything.
Come on, Samantha, stop acting like a little schoolgirl. If you know what you want, and I assume you know what you want.
Yes, I know what I want.
Then why don't you help me, and I will help you. First of all, tell me about the notes, and tell me about Joanna. All you know about her from the beginning.
What if I refuse?
I will make sure that you go to the authorities. Oh, I promise you. It won't be too beneficial for Quentin because he will still have no acquittal. And as for you, I shall make sure that you are prosecuted at the highest degree. Now, what will it be? Work with me or with the law? Oh, yes, my dear. You take your time and think. I don't mind being in the same room with you. In fact, I rather enjoy it.
I was beginning to think you didn't get my note, Lamar.
I'm sorry I'm so late, Flora, but the trial has taken up so much of my time.
The trial seems to be occupying much of everyone's time. I sent for you because I'm anxious to know the result of your investigation.
Investigation?
Oh, come now, Lamar, you haven't been that busy. The other day, when you and Gerard left this house, you were convinced that Barnabas Collins was a vampire.
Oh, yes, of course.
Oh, what did you find out?
Well, our suspicions appeared to be unfounded. We were convinced he was a vampire. But Gerard went to the old house and saw him during the light of day.
Well, that certainly proves his innocence. He couldn't appear in daylight and be a vampire. I, for one, am most relieved. Well, you don't look too pleased about it all.
I'm still quite upset about my experience in the cellar of the old house.
What do you mean?
Gerard and I discovered the remains of my poor, unfortunate father there, sealed up behind a brick wall.
Oh, Fred?
Yes. He was left there to die by Barnabas Collins' father in 1797.
Why do you think that Barnabas's father would do a thing like that?
My instincts tell me.
Instincts do not constitute proof, Lamar. And I doubt that Barnabas's father would do a thing like that. In any case, you can't hold one generation responsible for the misdeeds of another.
Misdeeds? What a curiously ineffective word you use to describe an act of cold-blooded murder. But then, I've always noticed how deviously clever you Collinses can be.
What do you mean by that?
How protective you can be of one another, especially when it comes to a matter of family guilt.
I think you better explain yourself, Lamar.
And I think you'd better watch your step, Flora.
I beg your pardon.
Don't think I haven't noticed how interested you've been in matters of the occult.
Lamar.
Seances, books on vampires, trafficking with the dead. All you Collinses seem to take that sort of thing in your stride. And who but another Collins would defend one of you against charges of practicing witchcraft? Mark my words, Flora. Your son's defense of Quentin Collins places all Collinses, including yourself, under some suspicion.
You are against Quentin, aren't you?
Yes.
That also means that you're against Tad, and that's the reason that I won't cooperate with you.
No, you're wrong there. I am quite fond of the boy. And the boy is quite fond of me. Hello, Samantha. Don't you think I understand why you're against Quentin? Why you've been miserable all these years?
Oh, God. I can't believe that anybody knows what a living hell my life has been in this house. I've never been loved. Not by Quentin. Do you understand why I must get even with him for all the misery that he has caused me?
Of course I do. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I do understand.
I met Joanna briefly. She was seeing my brother Randall at the time. Quentin met her and fell in love with her and took her away from Randall. He then asked me for a divorce. Of course, I said no. I thought that was the end of the affair. You know, He went away to sea, to forget about her, but I knew that he wouldn't. What I didn't know was that his leaving would affect her in such a strange way.
How did it affect her?
It made her live in a complete fantasy world. She was trying to recreate the life she had with Quentin. Eventually, they sent her to an asylum. The authorities got so alarmed by her deterioration that they got in touch with Quentin here. That's how I found out where she was. I decided that I was going to go and see her. I knew that she had freedom of the grounds, and I saw her one day, standing there. Nobody saw us. You're the first person who knows about this visit. It's been a secret until this moment.
Why did you go see her?
I wanted to know what it was that was destroying my marriage. She talked at great length. When I learned of the passion that she and Quentin had experienced, it made me hate him even more. There had been love there. The kind of love that Quentin never showed me. After that, I heard that she was escaped from the asylum, and a week after that, her body washed ashore on some beach. Since Quentin was the only one that she ever mentioned, all her belongings and effects were sent here. I've had them locked in a closet upstairs ever since.
And that's how you received the possession of the note?
Yes. She was writing in the asylum to Quentin, convinced that somehow her letters would bring him back.
But tell me, how did Daphne and Quentin come into this position so easily?
Well, at first I used her letters. Then I began to copy her handwriting. And then I could say anything I wanted. At first, I merely wanted to torture him a little. And then when Daphne came here and I realized that she was Joanna's sister, I knew that I had to go farther. I knew that I had to drive her from this house.
Wait a minute. Daphne is Joanna's sister?
Yes.
Of course, that's why she had the pistol.
What pistol?
When I first met her, she was carrying a pistol in her purse. I asked her about it, and she explained to me. And I believed her.
I don't understand. What?
How ironic it all is. How incredibly beautiful it is. She came here to avenge her sister's death by murdering Quentin. And if it wasn't for you, she might have done it.
I don't know what you mean.
The notes, my dear. You sending her the notes merely brought Quentin and Daphne closer together. She will never murder him now.
Well, perhaps that's just as well. Dying that way is too good for him. I'd rather see him beheaded. That's a fitting end to Mr. Quentin Collins.
Have you always hated him this deeply?
He was responsible for ruining any happiness that I might have had.
Well, you still have a chance.
What do you mean?
Did it ever occur to you that I was forced into treating you like I did when you had to choose between Quentin and me?
I don't believe
You
that.
must believe it, because it is true. Samantha, I knew there wouldn't be any chance between you and me if Quentin was still around. You must understand. You must believe me. It's the truth. We could have a new life together.
Well, I would believe you if you would help me get Daphne out of this house.
It's impossible.
Why? Because you love her?
No, because I want you to write more letters. You see, Quentin will lose everything. And his faith in the letters will disappear if he finds out Daphne is out of the house. So we must keep her here. And then we will put the final touches on Quentin Collins. They will both be gone. And only you and I will remain.
I don't mind telling you, Gerard. I haven't slept very well ever since your encounter with Barnabas Collins that day. I'm haunted by the ordeal that my poor father must have gone through. Gerard, your mind seems to be somewhere else at the moment. I trust I'm not boring you.
No, not at all, Trask. I'm sorry. I understand your feelings.
Well, the fact is, I've resigned myself to the reality that we will never get Barnabas Collins by legal means. The man is far too clever. But I do have a way of dealing with him.
Oh? How?
I'll need your help.
Of course, I'll be happy to help.
Barnabas Collins will be at Rose Cottage this evening.
Yes, I know. Flora has invited me with several other people for dinner.
Yes, I'm aware of that. I want it to be known to Barnabas Collins that for the past 3 nights at midnight, the spirit of Roxanne Drew has appeared to me in the cellar of the Trask Chapel. Now, she has not spoken as yet, but I have reason to believe that she will tonight. Will you see that he gets this information?
Of course I will. But you must remember, I called Barnabas a vampire. And he's been suspicious of me ever since. So I will have Flora tell him.
Thank you, Gerard.
But Trask, I do hope you're not going to keep me in suspense. What do you plan to do with Barnabas?
I believe it is the holy obligation of a son to avenge his father's death, even if that act of vengeance must be carried into the 2nd generation.
It was a lovely dinner, Flora.
Thank you, Barnabas.
Yes. Flora has no peer as a hostess here, so I asked her to serve in that capacity at Collinwood.
That was very dear of you, Gerard.
And now, if you will excuse me, I have some work to do.
Of course. Go right ahead.
Good night.
I wanted a chance to talk with Barnabas anyway. Barnabas, dear, I feel I must explain why I was so insistent on your coming here tonight. It's because I feel guilty.
About what?
Well, I began to have strong suspicions about you after we held the seance to contact Roxanne. If you remember, you broke contact during the seance, just as Roxanne was telling us the name of the one who made her a vampire. She said it was Angelique. And I had the feeling that you did it deliberately, because you knew more about Roxanne's death than you cared to admit.
Well, if you'll recall, I told you that my mother's name was Angelique.
Yes, I know. And then Gerard and Lamar came to see me, and we discussed the dreadful events of 1797. And, well, we all thought that it was possible that you were responsible for the death of Roxanne, that you were indeed the vampire.
Now you know that's not true.
Yes, I can't tell you how ashamed I am. And I hope you won't hold it against the others. I only wish the whole thing hadn't had such a terrible effect on poor Lamar.
What do you mean?
Well, quite frankly, Barnabas, he hasn't been the same since. He's become quite bitter, and now he's having this curious experience with the spirit of Roxanne.
What are you talking about?
For the past 3 nights, Lamar has actually seen the spirit of Roxanne in the basement of his chapel.
Perhaps he's only imagined that he's seen it.
Now, if you could talk to him, you'd know it was not his imagination. Now, I'm quite sure that she does appear just as he says, each night at midnight.
Did she speak to him?
Not yet. Oh, how I wish I could speak to her. But he won't let me go there to see her. He won't even go himself anymore. He says it's too dangerous. But I'm not afraid. She went to her grave with a great secret. I'd give anything to learn it.
So would I. Well, if you'll excuse me, Flora, but it's getting terribly late and I have a lot to do in the morning.
Oh, won't you stay for brandy?
Thank you so much, but I must be getting back to the old house. Thank you so much for a lovely dinner.
The pleasure's been mine.
Good night.
Good night.
Roxanne, are you here? You must appear to me, Roxanne. I must talk to you.
She's not here, Mr. Collins, and she won't be here.
So it was a trap.
Yes, a carefully conceived and executed trap. We're all alone, Mr. Collins. I've waited a long time for this moment.
Why did you want me to come here?
Well, I shouldn't think you'd have to ask that. But if you're really in need of an explanation, I suggest you look carefully at the far wall. My father's death must be avenged, Mr. Collins, and you are the one who must pay. I think it fitting that you should die the same way he did, sealed up behind a brick wall.
Do you really think that you'll get away with something like this?
Well, consider how long my own father's tomb went undetected. Now move into that alcove. And if you're thinking of escape, remember I am prepared to use this pistol. At one point, I was really convinced that you were a vampire. But now I'm glad that you're human, Mr. Collins, as human as my father was. It makes my revenge so much more complete, so much more fulfilling. Now, put on the manacles, Mr. Collins. The manacles, if you please.